Good morning, everybody. We'll get started in just about 30 seconds. This is our attendee panelist participants evens out. We'll get going. I did put some information for you in the chat box as well. Okay, I think it stopped moving. So, welcome everybody. Today's presentation is titled Navigating Puberty and Developmental Disabilities. So, please remember that Family Matters is unable to offer CEU credits in any way. We can offer you a certificate of completion if that's something that you wish to have. Just email me after the presentation. So, Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center is not a legal service. We do not provide legal representation or give legal advice in any way. Thank you for the people that are usually on our webinars. They know that you can at this time sign into the chat with your name and title. So, if you're attached to an organization, have a specific title attached to you, or if you're a parent or self advocate taking the training, please let us know in the chat. We are partially funded from a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, the contents of today's presentation don't necessarily represent the policies of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. Family Matters is an educational advocacy center that serves 94 counties in the state of Illinois. We help parents self-advocates, which is what the title we give students and caregivers and professionals understand their role in special education and navigating resources and services in the state. So we do that by primarily our educational advocacy helpline. We take calls every day from parents, self advocates, caregivers, and professionals wanting to have more information on helping them to understand what their role is in special education. We also hold the state's grant to train educational surrogate parents. So, educational surrogate parents, or ESPs, are individuals that have taken an extensive training with our office and now serve as an advocate to children within the care of DCFS in the state of Illinois who have special education plans. So, for more information about that, I'm sure you get emails from us all the time, but we are always in need of ESPs, especially in metropolitan or high populated areas. So, please reach out to our office if you have time that you think you could commit to that. We once a year hold a Compass program. A Compass stands for Coaching Others and Mentoring Parents About School Services. We're getting ready to launch that in January. Is a self-paced 10-session program to help you understand the role of advocacy and understand how to better serve your student, whether that be in a professional role or parent or caregiver role, during IEP meetings and other types of special education navigating processes. We also have a podcast that we release one a month with, and we are very fortunate to have two self advocates that do a vlog for us that is posted on our YouTube channel monthly. So today's webinar will be recorded and posted to our website and YouTube channel after today's presentation. So if you are missing some of it, can't attend the whole thing, it will be there. We ask that you please use the Q&A box for all questions. We will address them at the end of the presentation. And as always, please help us by completing the brief survey that you will receive once you close out of Zoom. So today, let's identify some goals. We're going to identify two key strategies to educate an individual with an intellectual disability about the changes that are happening with their body. We're going to explore two resources that may be useful in learning more about puberty and sexuality for our individuals, and describe two examples of effective language that will promote and understand around puberty and related topics. We, of course, will also share lots of resources during this time frame. I have sent and put in the chat, I will share it one more time, the link to the shared Google Drive associated with today's presentation. It is full of resources. So I wouldn't say that one really enjoys teaching about puberty and sexuality, but it is something that I would say I'm starting to have a passion for. To have, it's not a child, he's 21, but to have a young adult that I am parenting that has an intellectual disability and understanding what's happening with his body and happening with the way society approaches him as a different individual is a hard process to navigate. So trainings like these are very helpful for parents, educators, and self-advocates to understand. So When does puberty typically begin? So when I was a kid, I feel like puberty really started later in life than when it does now, and there's a lot of research out there about why that is. But typically, generally, puberty happens between the ages of 9 and 14. It's kind of in those time frames, giving your child's medical history, it may be a little delayed. It might even be a little bit earlier. But the one thing to remember, and I never thought about this concept until it was in my face, is that just because my child has a complex disability does not mean that puberty is going to happen one of these days. I think as a parent, you focus on the struggles that you're having right there at that moment and that you're trying to get through, whether that be navigating more related services or therapies for my kid or struggling with the behavior, you don't think about this next step. But this is something that will happen for your child. So being prepared for it as a parent is very helpful. And taking trainings like this and understanding that there are things that I naturally learned as a woman that my child is going to struggle with naturally learning. So puberty generally happens between the ages of 9 and 14. So for girls, there are changes that happen within their bodies, and for males, and we're talking about biologically born, a male or female, there are changes that happen in their body too. So and again, puberty is part of your medical buildup as a person. So there may be things that happened in your body that don't happen with another person's body, but these are things we can kind of watch for in our kids. So for our individuals that are non-speaking or struggle with communication, there might be things happening in their body that we don't know about as a parent because they can't vocalize that or advocate or share with us about what's happening. So some things that we can see start to change in our kids are changes in your face. So the face times becomes a little thinner and longer compared to the quote unquote baby cheeks that our kiddos had. Changes in breast are actually common in both biologically male and females. Menstruation will begin for girls or for women, and changes in their body shape. So they might start to get that hourglass figure. Believe it or not, I know a lot of girls that their voice changes as well, but that's more common in males. Face changes, just like with a female, again, more longer. They might even start to grow some facial hair. And then there's, of course, changes in the penis and testicles as they become more into adults. Their feelings and emotions are going to change as well. Skin changes. Body odor happens. That was our first indication with my son that puberty may be happening was the body odor. Hair growth in different spaces, growth spurts, and with growth spurts can come an increase in an appetite or an increase in aggression or other mental problems like depression, anxiety, and of course, stretch marks. So these are some physical changes that are happening with your child's body that may indicate that puberty is coming along. So as we approach the ages of 9 and 14, if you're starting to see some physical changes like this, it might be a sign as a parent your child is starting puberty. So the Tanner stage of puberty is a common resource and a common theory that is out there to help understand. There's a link right here that you'll be able to access from your slides. But of course, the first stage is when the hormones are hard at work behind the scenes. So you might not see a lot of the physical changes start to first, because those hormones kick in. Stage two is when the first physical signs of puberty occur. So, like we just talked about with the breast growth or the voice change or the facial hair, body hair. Third stage, of course, is the growth spurt. The fourth is a continuation of development. And then, of course, the final stage of puberty. So, I was a parent that this at this stage is when we started to see some aggressive behaviors. I do have a son with complex autism and intellectual disability, high support needs. So he is a non-speaking individual. We started to notice an aggression problem at this time, physical aggression, increase in elopement, and this was something that I don't think we were prepared. I don't think any parents prepared for this, but this is something that we started to see happening. And puberty was not on my mindset. Like I said before, we were so focused on everything else that we were doing. I never in a million years thought that puberty might be what's going on. So it took his developmental pediatrician to say, I think he's starting puberty. And we see this with puberty. Now, for my son, that also meant the onset of seizures. So because he has autism, because, all the things, puberty brought out some seizure issues as well, which again did not contribute back to puberty until a specialist told me that that could be a possibility. So some signs of puberty. We have a video here that we're going to cross our fingers works like it's supposed to.
Hey guys, welcome back to our blog. Woo! Yeah, so today I was walking down the street when this dog. What's up with you?
Nothing?
Is it that pimple again?
Yeah, it kinda grew.
Oh man, it can't be that bad. Let me see. Hello.
Okay, guys, listen. All boys go through a changing process called puberty. There are many physical, emotional, and social changes of puberty, and it generally takes 5 to 7 years for all of the changes to be complete. The changes of puberty happen at different times for each person, and there's no right time for these changes to occur. For boys, it generally starts between the ages of 11 to 15. Okay, so the most noticeable physical changes of puberty for boys include getting facial hair, having frequent and at times spontaneous erections, when the penis fills with blood and gets bigger, making sperm, which, when mixed with other fluids, creates semen, which is about a teaspoon of whitish fluid that can be ejaculated out of the penis, possibly experiencing wet dreams, meaning ejaculating semen while sleeping, normal if it does happen, and normal if it doesn't, and possibly experimenting with masturbation, touching yourself for pleasure. Again, normal if you do, and normal if you don't. Okay, guys, here are some additional physical changes of puberty. A growth spurt, during which boys become taller, their shoulders become broader, and their whole body grows larger. Their genitals are growing in size as their voice is deepening.
How you doing?
Occasional acne, and some slight breast growth is possible as a result of all those hormones, which usually resolves on its own. Growing pubic hair around the genitals and hair under the arms. And sweat may now have a strong odor. Why? The purpose of puberty is to allow the body to physically reproduce. This is accomplished by testosterone allowing the testicles to start making sperm, which means when whitish fluid called semen leaves the penis, it now has sperm in it. Now, in addition to the physical changes, there are many emotional changes too. More intense mood swings. Having new sexual feelings for the first time is sometimes called feeling horny. Being interested in other people in a new romantic and/or sexual way, and often feeling like you want more privacy from your parents and even your siblings. Dude, puberty is indeed a challenging process, but hey, you're not alone. Every boy goes through it. So, congratulations. You're on your way to becoming a man.
So the great thing about those videos from amaze.org is they use a lot of direct language. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in our presentation about using language with your child, with your young adult that is direct language. It's not got any nicknames with it. It's not got any politically correct it's very direct language with your child. Amaze.org is a resource that I use as a parent for a lot of things. They are listed later in the presentation. I would suggest checking out their YouTube channel. Again, this is puberty and sexuality is something very personal that your family is going to navigate. So your comfortableness with using language like this is imperative, and it's also going to be measured by your cultural um, preferences as a family as well. So there may be things that you're not comfortable with talking about, but these are things that are going to happen with our children regardless. When they have an intellectual disability, it is important that we are the persons that helps them put those boundaries in place so that they can stay safe. So, like we talked about, acne, hair growth, growth spurts, voice changes, increased body odor, penis grows in length. Could nighttime ejaculations could be happening. So, for children that have higher support needs where you are taking care of a lot of their personal hygiene, these are things you might start to notice as a parent. And then you can start to have conversations with their healthcare providers saying, I believe my child is starting puberty. What are some things that we may need to watch out for? If I would have been more comfortable with doing that, I have a feeling that my son's neurologist would have said he is at risk of having seizures. Let's start watching for that. You don't know what you don't know at the time, but I feel like as a parent, when we started this path, I wish I would have been more comfortable with asking questions like this. They're uncomfortable questions. They're not something that my generation was super comfortable with talking about, but it is something that we, as the caregivers of our complex or high support needs students, have to really think about. So here are some great pictures that you can use to help your students or your children or your young adults with a visualization to understand. Just saying the word acne, some kids might not understand what that means, even saying the word pimples, but showing them this picture might help them to connect. Oh, I have those. I have those everywhere, and not just on your face. So acne has a tendency, as we all know, to go all over the body. Um, Same with facial hair. Or body hair in any way. The voice changing, the breast growth is something that we don't talk a lot about, but it happens very frequently in boys or genetically born males. It's something too that we as parents of any kids that have taken any type of medication to help with behavior have been told to watch for as a side effect. So the mood swings is what we begin to solve first, and then of course genital growth. So what about genetically born females or girls? I'm thinking back now. It's a little different for my daughter when we helped with this process. She does too have an intellectual disability, but it was a little different. She's a different person. Her support needs are different than our older son. So, menstruation is one of the first signs. I recently, like I'm talking yesterday, guys, learned about this company that can provide your student visuals. They can provide custom fits. Products for your students. They have videos out there. I will share that in the resources at the end. So I just learned about them literally 2 days ago. So an increase in vaginal discharge, breast development, darkening of the areolas, hair growth. Females can also get hair growth around puberty or around the face as well. This could be a sign of a different type of medical condition your student may have. So this is something to watch for. Of course, the growth spurts, increase in body odor, just like their male counterpart, acne, skin changes, increase of fat accumulation in the waist and the hips. So these are some physical signs that your daughter may be showing that puberty is coming. Again, if you provide more direct support with hygiene for your student, these are things you might start to notice as well. We don't get out of jail free card for our more high support needs kiddos, guys. Puberty is still going to happen. We have to learn how to navigate it. It's hard, but these are things that are going to be happening with your student. And these is also a great physical representation for our girls to understand what may be happening. So great pictures, I think, are huge and helpful for our students. I think mood swings was one of the first that we noticed in our daughter. Her moods were all over the place. We were a little bit more prepared because her brother's older than she is, but it was definitely something. And we don't provide as much hygiene support for her as we do our son. So we really had to rely on saying, okay, her mood is changing, her body's changing. I wonder if puberty. Now she was a later puberty due just different body workup. So it's something that we knew was. I think we'd had a crash course with reality with the older one, knowing that it was going to happen. We were not going to watch this video due to time purposes, but it is from amaze.org and it shows physical signs of puberty that's coming in girls. So it's great to watch it just like the other one is. So like we talked about, language matters. Be direct, be clear, and avoid euphemism. So I cannot tell you, and this is something I remember from being in school, like McGruff the crime dog come and talk about things. It is very important to use direct meanings and titles of words with our students. I'm going to say a large portion of the kiddos that we work with have some type of communication barrier. They may not, and it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about with your mom or dad, despite the fact that if you have a disability or not. So using clear and direct language is very important with our students. This is a number of reasons. One, they know their expectations when you're talking to them about something, and they also could identify if someone unfortunately would touch them or take an advantage of when they're not comfortable. So using words like penis, vagina, genitals, ejaculation. Those are very important to say those exact words to your student. You can talk about, and there are social stories out there. There are more resources shared later on with ways to help our students explain that we are using direct language with you, but socially appropriate, you might not want to go to Walmart and say these words, or go to church, or talk about it with great grandma. So those social stories are out there. That's a huge hurdle for our kids to work through. But I would rather work through grandma being uncomfortable because my son said penis than I would him trying to explain to someone else that someone hurt him or touched his penis inappropriately and using an inappropriate word. So again, we have to, and I don't like the word normal. I prefer typical, but puberty and sexuality are typical. They're normal. It's a part of life. So get comfortable with saying these words. It is hard. Even the first time I taught this presentation, I taught it to my mom, so I got more comfortable with saying certain words. But be direct, be clear with your students, and think beyond the physical and the prep for the emotional changes with your student's body. So these things are going to happen. Their body is going through so much already. Their minds are trying to make up for ways that they have deficits. Remember, these things could happen: mood swings, fatigue, anxiety, increased self-conscious, and body image changes. So be prepared to talk about those things. Be prepared to help support your student with those things, and make sure that you are supported in understanding this. If your son or your daughter is having hard time mood wise, it's okay to skip family night that night and let them have some private time. Or maybe you need to chisel out some time to just be with them, and go on a walk or go on a hike. So keep those things in mind. Just because our kids have intellectual disabilities, even if they don't struggle with verbalization, they could be going through those things, and you want to make sure they're comfortable with talking to you about them. Okay. Mental health is as much as of you know a physical sickness, or it's just as important as having a cold or having a broken leg. We need to approach this as my child needs to be okay with saying, "Mom, I just don't feel right in my head." So again, there's some social stories later on that I'll share the link to, that can help you talk about those things. I don't feel right today. Where am I feeling my feelings at? Where in my body do I feel my feelings? And talk about those things with our kids. Unfortunately, with the surge of hormones that comes with puberty, there's more problems with this type of mental exhaustion. With the mood swings and the fatigue and the anxiety that comes along too. I'm told that will balance itself back out. Um, we're working on it still in our house. We have four teenagers, so well, we have four of them. So yeah, it's it will balance back out eventually. But normalize all body shapes and sizes. I am a closeted, huge Barbie collector. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I collect Barbies. And I was so excited when Body Positive Barbie came out, because it was a better, like my daughter, she liked Barbies. It was able to say, she could see a body positive Barbie, but normalize these things. This is something our next generation, our kids are doing much better than we did, guys, as when we were growing up. So um, it's okay to use anatomically correct language from the start. Speak positively about your body. Oh, I like your new pants today. I know they were a size bigger than last time, but they fit you so well. Like, so be positive about the changes that are happening with your child's body. It's important not to embarrass them. Obviously, like, we're not going to talk about breast development in the middle of Walmart, but it's okay as they start to get older, like starting 5, 6 years old. Oh yeah, we need to walk through the brawl department. Like, so then they're more comfortable with understanding that their body is going to change and what they may need to change for. Build your support team. It's important that you know who's safe to talk about these things, that you know where you can get support from, and the same with your students. So if your person that you're leaning on for support is not comfortable using this type of verbiage, is not comfortable talking about these types of things, that might not be someone that you want on your safe support team. Your vision and your decision and your boundaries as a family is going to help support your students. So you want whoever is on your team to kind of share those boundaries and that safe. Give permission for your child to ask questions of anyone on your safe team. They may not be comfortable talking about this with you, but they might talk to Aunt Ashley about this because they know that she's on the safe team. I even built a visualization board with my kids. So I took a picture of everyone that's on our safe team. This is someone that you can safely talk about your body with. This is something that you can ask people that you can ask questions about. I made sure that it aligned with the beliefs that we have as a family, and that we have culturally, that those people are on there. That was very important to me. Ensure your team members are all sharing similar messages. Puberty is normal and healthy. Questions are good. It's very good to ask questions and not to be embarrassed about that. So use accurate visuals. Some potential books to consider are listed here. We have a couple of these in our lending library. So if you're interested in that, that's an email you can send me after the presentation. We relied very heavily for my daughter on the American Girl puberty books because she was big in American Girl at that time. Those are things that we have here in our library that we could share. Um, Puberty is gross, but also really awesome. We use that one too. Remember that all questions are safe questions. Off limit topics will be barriers to understanding. So if your child feels like that topic is off limit, they're going to want to know more about it. They're going to figure out a way to know more about it. And it's better to be comfortable talking with things, even if it's something that you culturally don't believe in or spiritually don't believe in with your student. It is better to say that than it is to say it's off limits. You know, is very important. Even though my son has significant communication barriers, we are very direct with him about certain things and we talk about certain things and it's very important. You may think that your student is not understanding the language you're giving him, but you are putting that boundary in place and helping him to learn those barriers, overcome those barriers, I'm sorry. Hygiene, address it early and often. One of the best things I think I ever did was put a hygiene regimen in place for my kindergartner. And we just kept adding to it as he got older. So then he was able to understand as he becomes an adult, these hygiene things are significantly necessary and I have to follow them. Allow children to select their own products if at all possible. This may be they go to the store with you and pick out, or it may be let's smell each of these to see what you can tolerate. But build that into your daily routine. I took this a step farther. Not only do my kids pick out their own hygiene products, starting at age, I think, 12, they also started purchasing their own hygiene products with their own money. Now, obviously, if they didn't have the money to support it, my husband and I would help them to buy it. But it's important that they see the need for it, the importance of it to buy these things and know that they will have to use these supports the rest of their life. It also helps my daughter to prepare for her menstruation cycle, knowing that I've got to go shopping on this day because I'll need this next week. So make sure the tools needed are accessible in every environment. So if they go to summer camp for a week, that they can still follow that daily routine and they have the products that need to go with them. They're going to grandma's house, that grandma understands the importance of that hygiene routine and why they need to do it. It's even important to communicate this with your school team and help them to understand he does this hygiene routine at home. This is where we see he has a deficit and needs extra prompting or support. This is what they might need to do at school. Have those open conversations, especially about menstruation with our girls. You can't just expect that the school will know that they need to do X, Y, and Z. We need to put these in place, talk about that at the IEP meeting, and be open to talking about that. A good thing here is that we're starting to talk about transition plans right around the time puberty's hitting. So build those into your plans. Have them do a daily hygiene goal at school. Have them do independent living things at school and incorporate that into their transition plans so they build those independent skills. Let's talk a little bit about privacy and boundaries. It's important that our students know who can I talk to about this. If I'm having breast development and growth and I'm worried or I don't understand why, who is my supported person? Where can I talk about this? It's okay to talk to you um, privately in your bedroom about an erection that I had at home, but it's not okay to do it in the middle of Christmas service at church. If I have a hygiene emergency, who can I ask for help? At home, at school, at work, we need somebody about across all environments. We don't want our students struggling or trying to cover it up. We want them to be open and honest and know that and this, guys, is something that you would do for your student, whether they had a disability or not. This is my period pack. If I don't have this when I have my period, who can I ask at school? This is important. Biggest one, who can see or touch my body? This has to be something that your student is comfortable with. We outlined for our kids, this is the body zone in which no one should be touching you unless you ask them to touch you there. So make sure they understand that concept. Even if it's a trusted adult that asks to touch them there, We always, say, why do you feel like you need to touch me there? I need to ask my parent if you can touch me there. It's important. And what do I do if someone makes me feel uncomfortable about my body? It's important for our students to understand no matter how many much they want to have friends, a friend is never going to make you do or insist that you do something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Talk about that feeling uncomfortable. Where do I feel that feeling in my body? Where am I expressing it at? How does it make me feel? Consider looping your child's healthcare provider in to reinforce the importance of this message. Sometimes our child will take their doctor or their healthcare provider more serious than they will their parent in this situation, but talk about anywhere on my body that I do not feel like that it is appropriate for anyone else to touch me, and talk about that together. Consider a hygiene box at school. That's something that a lot of people do. And also, on a side note, consider donating these items to your school. If you're ever out and you see a sale on body wipes, like dude wipes are super popular right now, grab them, donate them to your school. Even kids that don't have disabilities have trouble navigating this process, and the school always tries to have this on hand, so that they can, give this to students if they need it. So consider donating this to local schools. Make sure your student has a hygiene box in their bedroom that they can carry back and forth to the bathroom with them. Make sure they have one at school if they need to access it. Hygiene boxes are wonderful, and again, helps to build multiple levels of skills. You can write in there, a ways to let a trusted adult know that you're out of X, Y, and Z, or put it on my calendar to remind me I need to buy it. The skill building around a hygiene box is limitless, guys. Consider adaptations and equipment that may make hygiene easier. A bath or shower chair can help. A bidet, a shower scrubble with long handle, body wipes, adapted toothbrush, period underwear are lifesavers. Those are all over Amazon now. And pull-ups, for menstruation flow can also, like, and I mean like an adult depend, could be useful and helpful too. So I will say, as your student approaches the age of puberty, it is not a bad idea, considering their support needs, to look into types of assistive technology. So we're very lucky in the state of Illinois to have the Illinois Assistive Technology Program located in Springfield. Do a tour of their smart home. Look at different things that can be developed in their, I call it the imagination lab. It's not. It's where they can make you things from their 3D printer if you need it, or things they already have built that you never would have thought of that could be helpful for my student. Whether you are providing the hygiene support, or they are doing it independently, or of course you're trying to build that skill. But there's lots of things in the bathroom, in the kitchen, that could help your student with that independence. So um, I think these are great. I noticed not too long ago at Walmart that you can actually buy disposable period underwear in the female product section of the pharmacy. So I was thrilled with that. They're on Amazon. There's lots of different places. We also use for my older son incontinence underwear to help him as well. So there's lots of things out there that you can look into. I cannot stress this enough. It's a digital world. Okay, our kids, what and again, this is a thought process as a parent. If my child struggles to tie his shoes, can he navigate Snapchat independently? Guess what? The answer is probably yes. So it's things that we don't think about at the time, but it's out there. And these the digital world for our kids with disabilities that are trying to navigate puberty and the way their body changes can be helpful in many ways. Like these apps suggest, Talk Puberty is amazing. All About You, the puberty app, is also amazing. But there's also counterparts to that. Okay, so they're now involved in the digital world, and there's ways that you have to make sure that you protect them from different things. So keep that in mind. Digital world or assistive technology in this sense can be really helpful, but we have to make sure that we have firm boundaries and things in place for our kids, and we have safe supports in place for them as well. Don't forget to tune into sensory challenges. These are things that we're not super comfortable talking about as a society, but things that we may need to think about. So, would it be better to use a tampon for my daughter who may struggle with the sensory feeling of menstruation? The smell of the student's body might be overwhelming for them, so we have to think about different products that maybe have no smell at all. I'm so glad that all over body deodorant is a big thing right now because it can really be helpful. Um, there's some discomfort that can be with pads and period underwear, so keep that in mind. And of course, body hair or shaving and can be a sensory overload. As my oldest son started to develop body hair all over his legs and arms, he started skin picking because it was overstimulating for him. Now, unfortunately, shaving it off just made the problem worse because then it itched when it grew in. But it's something I never would have thought about. Sensory overload for him is the amount of body hair that he was getting and how that might feel on his body. So seek appropriate health care. Okay, so maybe the OBGYN that you've had for and that your mom had and your grandma had is not the best fit for your teen. Really look into it. Use apps like physicians.com and things to look in there and say, I have my daughter who has autism and an intellectual disability. I'm looking for an OBGYN that would be comfortable and could help us navigate this process. Ask questions. You're already in all these support groups on Facebook and all the other things. Ask questions to your friends. Who do you use? Why do you use them? Why would that be good for my daughter? The same with our son. Okay, who would be a good fit for his puberty and healthcare needs that will understand X, Y, Z. So teens with disability need the same quality healthcare testing and screening as everyone else. It's important that your doctor have that same vision. Okay. So here are some resources. There are of course screenshots here. You can tap them or do your whole thing here. They are included in the resources that I shared on the Google Drive as well. Navigating Life Texas is a huge, great support. It really breaks things down. Um, of course, amaze.org, guys. I can't even tell you everything you can think of on the history of everything has, an understanding there. So understanding sexuality, understanding general gender identity, am I ready to be sexually active? What do I do if someone touches me inappropriate? Are all in those short 3-minute videos like the one that you saw at the beginning of the presentation, and they're put in a format that kids can understand. I think it's a great resource. I think you really need to look at it as a parent and know those boundaries you have in place and those cultural effects of your family to see if it's a good idea for your child to watch any of these, but it is a good resource. Again, some more. This Elevatus training is a wonderful program. They have free trainings once a month, so just a parent training on understanding sexual health, puberty, and our individuals with intellectual disabilities. I have taken that training. It's free, but you have to get on a waiting list for it. So if you're interested, I just checked their website before we logged on. They don't have them posted for 2025 yet, but you have to get on a waiting list. So you might sign up in January and not be able to take the training until February. So just keep that in mind. Then they get bigger and bigger. So that's the free starter out, and then they have multiple ones. They have resources for your kids. They have picture boards, visual schedules. There's all sorts of great resources they have there. They also have some training on understanding how vulnerable our students are to predators and how vulnerable our students are of becoming someone that's charged with a sexual assault crime in some way. So that's not something we talk a lot about in this training because honestly I'm not knowledgeable enough in that area to share resources with you at this time. But there are wonderful, wonderful trainings on that. Having a healthy relationship, am I ready for sex? It's all on that. And that, like I said, there's a free one that you can start out. I think there's actually multiple free ones, and then the more you take, you can actually get certification in these areas. So that's something that I'm exploring right now. So it's a great resource to have. And then if the sex positive families is something that we have taken as a family as well, just to get more comfortable. My husband is not comfortable using this verbiage or saying these words. So it was a big shift for him, but we had to make sure that he was on the same path and page that I am so that our children got direct messages when it came to this. This toolkit is also amazing, so you want to check that out. The online courses, like we talked about, and of course, my name is Abby Mars. I work here at Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center as an educational support coach. This is just like the very first onion layer and understanding the importance of being direct with your student about their puberty, about their sexuality, about how their body's changing, pairing with the fact that they have some level of a disability and some level of support needs. So any direct questions that you might have, if you want to ask, where I could get support, please reach out to me about any of that. So as I said before, at this time we'll stop the recording.